What if you could eliminate the possibility of being broke forever? What if there's this one thing where if you were to master it, no matter how hard you tried to self-sabotage, you would still become wealthy? This one concept is called leverage. In the next few minutes, I'm gonna show you how to weaponize this so the concept of making a shitload of cash is gonna come very easy to you. My name is Garrett Campbell, and I run Better Endeavors, which is really dedicated to getting hundreds of people to make hundreds of thousands of dollars by being placed inside companies doing millions and millions of dollars. How? It's again, this concept that I've mentioned called leverage. Let me zoom out a little bit here and explain what leverage really is. It's simply putting in a little bit to get a lot. It's like a machine where you put in $1 and get 10. That's what we're talking about here. And I want to explain how I discovered what leverage even is with a nice little story. So in my first sales job ever, I was 18. I didn't know what I was doing. I was so excited because I thought I was about to make a bunch of money. What I was doing was I got a Google Sheet with a name, an email, and a phone number. And I was supposed to call 200 people every single day. I would make $200 for every single person that I closed. I did 200 calls every day. I'd wake up at 7 a.m. I would get done working at about 8 p.m. And I would do this 7 days a week for a whole month. I worked like 70 hours a week. And at the end of the month, I made $1,700. It worked out to like $4 an hour. Like it was below minimum wage. I was talking with one of the sales reps that worked at the same company. They made $70,000 that month. Talking to the same people, selling the same thing as me. That's when I discovered the first piece of leverage is skill set. He was way better at it than me. The hours that he was putting in resulted in more output. Then I took it a level further as I spent more time in this company. And I looked and saw the sales manager. Sales manager, they weren't doing 13 hours of calls every single day. They were hopping on sales team meetings, listening to some calls here and there, and they would get a percentage of money on all of our sales because they were our manager. So these guys worked half the time, probably less than half the time. They were making 50, 60, 70, 80 grand a month. Some of them were making less than the top sales rep, but they were doing 20% of the work. And I was like, man, that's real leverage. Then we zoom back even further and I look at the guy owning the company. This was a sales agency. So what sales agencies do basically is they'll have someone who doesn't want to run their sales team. They will go to this sales agency and say, hey, do all my sales for me. So they hire some salespeople, they get them to sell the product for these companies, and then they're just the person in charge of the salespeople. That's really it. The business owner was getting 10% on all of the sales that I was making. I was getting 10% on my sale. So every time I made $200, he made $200. And one day, I made my first $1,000 day. So I was getting some leverage. I was improving my skill sets. And I'm like, wonder what Daniel's doing right now. Check his Instagram story. He's sitting on the beach in Mexico. The company, as a whole, out of all the sales reps, we made $30,000 in commission as a whole across all the sales reps, which means Daniel made $30,000 that day, sipping cocktails on the beach. That was the ultimate level of leverage inside that company. The concept of leverage can be explained by the 80-20 rule, is they find the 80% of the work and they give that to other people. And they only do the 20% of work that gives 80% of the outcome. That's how people have time freedom and location freedom and all these other things. Now I'm gonna ask yourself, do you want to obtain leverage? The fact that you're watching this video tells me yes. Here are the 3 things that are keeping you broke and stopping you from obtaining leverage. The first one here is environment. When I first discovered the concept of leverage, I looked everywhere in my environment to find people that had this leverage so that I could replicate their success. When I looked around, I saw a bunch of people in college town that were pretty much stuck in the same position as me. No one was really ahead of me. Everyone was broke. No one was trying to make any money and no one was trying to make any levels of improvement. So I just felt stuck because everything in my environment was stagnant. The only way I could really solve this was to leave my environment. It wasn't hard for me to get away from it. This sounds crazy. I moved just to the other side of town, away from all the college kids, 10, 15 minutes away. And what happened was insane. Because I had this business mindset, I started meeting other business owners inside my town. And what happened here is now, although I'm this 19-year-old kid, I'm being surrounded by 30, 40, 50-year-olds that run businesses that do multi-6 figures, multi-7 figures. And this kind of naturally solves the second roadblock here, which is a lack of knowledge. When you're in the right environment, you start to see what's possible because you're around these people who do have leverage. But the reason they have the leverage is because of the knowledge that they have. So I identified the skill sets that they have that I don't have, and I had to find a way to acquire those skills. It was just a lack of knowledge. You right now, lacking knowledge. If you knew how to make 6 figures, you would be making 6 figures, but you don't, so you're not. I was in the same position. When I got around these people making 6 figures and 7 figures, I identified the skills that they had. A lot of it was they knew how to market, they knew how to sell, they were great with people, They knew how to manage a team of people. They just had this killer mindset of they can make anything possible. Which brings me to roadblock number 3, is your limiting beliefs. The only way to tackle this is through exposure therapy. All there is to it. If you're around a bunch of people who know how to swim and you get thrown into a pool, you're gonna learn how to fucking swim. That's all there is to it. If you're trying to be a D1 athlete and you're around a bunch of D1 athletes, you will learn how to be like a D1 athlete by exposing yourself in this environment of people where winning becomes normal. You're gonna have, like, as you rub shoulders with these people, their mindset will naturally kind of trickle off on you. And these will naturally break these limiting beliefs. And aside from that, you need to read books like a madman. Read Think and Grow Rich. Read How to Win Friends and Influence People. Read these base level, kind of entry level, like mindset books. They'll kind of help you shed the old way of thinking. Like, I really think growing up and maturing is just realizing what beliefs were downloaded into me from my parents, which beliefs serve me, which ones don't. These are the limiting beliefs, the ones that don't serve you. And you just have to replace them with new, better ones. If you tackled these 3 things to where you have a killer environment, you obtain the knowledge to make a lot of money and have leverage, and you don't have any more limiting beliefs that are holding you back, nothing's stopping you anymore. You have nothing holding you back besides having a step-by-step blueprint on how to obtain leverage for yourself. I'm giving that to you now. Let me break it down. All right, so at this point, we've identified everything that's blocking you from getting leverage and how to get past all those hurdles and all those obstacles. The only thing you need now at this point to get leverage for yourself is a step-by-step blueprint to get there. The way that we obtain this leverage is through this concept that I call the leverage escalator. So the leverage escalator has 3 steps and they keep repeating continuously, kind of like an escalator. Let me break down number 1, which is opportunity. With opportunity, as I told you guys earlier, I was in this sales agency. I made $1,700. I wasn't just diddling around, not really caring about this job. Was I only made $1,700 and I was working all these hours? No, I did step number 2, which is networking and paying attention to people in these networks so I can see what holes are in my skill set. And what that was for me was just not being good enough in sales. I networked with the best sales reps in there, the sales reps making $70,000 a month, and I identified what I needed to work on. Number 3 is paying for these skills. I went to the guy making $70K a month, and I'm like, how much do I have to pay you to get me good at sales like you? I ended up paying him $3,000. And what happened here was I got so much better. My second month, I made $4K. The next month, I made $6K. And this just kept continually climbing. And then we get back to the top of the escalator again. We get back to opportunity. I got to a point where I was making pretty good money, but I wanted to leave the sales agency. I needed another opportunity. I went to number 2. I networked again. I talked with everyone in the sales agency to look for a sales opportunity outside of the sales agency. And I found this opportunity to where I could sell something worth $10,000. Right now, I'm selling things that are $2,000. I 5x'd how much money I can make by simply selling something way more expensive. Selling something worth $10,000 is a lot more difficult than selling something worth $2,000. I invested in my skills again to get even better. Now I'm in this sales opportunity. As I was progressing and getting really good at sales, like I was making 20, 25, 30 grand a month in these new, bigger opportunities, selling way more expensive things. I was networking with all these different business owners and all these different sales reps that were making really good money. And I discovered this one business that wanted me to help manage their sales team. Now, I know you know that step number 3 is paying for skills, but I've already done this twice at this point. My network has expanded so much to where I didn't really have to do step number 3 of buying the skills, because I was surrounded by so many people in my network that it wasn't necessary. It just kind of rubbed off on me. And this opportunity approach to where I didn't have to be on sales calls anymore. I could just be a sales manager. And right after this happened, I moved up to a sales manager. My income shot up to 60 grand a month. I did this again when I started a business, invested in skills, grew those skills. Now my biggest month ever has been 100 grand a month. I think you see the power of the leverage escalator. So at this point, throughout this whole video, you guys now know what leverage is, you know what's limiting you from getting it, you know how to get over those hurdles, you know have a step-by-step blueprint on how to achieve this for yourself. So if you guys want to do the same opportunity that I did, which is being a remote closer, you can watch this video here where I broke down exactly how to do that so you can start obtaining leverage today.